Hello, everybody. Welcome to another exciting episode of Jimmy's Jambox. We're here. We're back at it again, and we're going to get on into it. But before we do, as always, please make sure to like, subscribe, push all the buttons, do all the things. You know, I don't know where they are, but you do, and I trust you. With that being said, here's a quick word from our sponsors. Organic herbs and botanicals, skincare and edibles, wellness for body and mind. The Brothers Apothecary. Fine teas and remedies. Ronald Records. From indie gems to classic hits, discover the heart of local music. With live shows all the time, up close and personal, and regular releases on their in-house label. Ronald Records. Supporting the community, one track at a time. All right, thank you all so much for watching. Again, shout out The Brothers Apothecary, Ronald Records, and Portland Water. Thanks for keeping us hydrated. And with that being said, let's go ahead and get on into it. Here is today's guest.
Hello, my name is Josh, and I go by High Gain Theory.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, why don't you tell us a little bit about, who you are, where you're from, what you do, give us that Tinder profile of your involvement with music.
Yeah, I am primarily a guitarist, a bass music producer. I am from Portland, Oregon. Been here for about 8 years and pursuing this music career thing.
Oh, yeah. Where did you move from before, or where did you move from?
Originally from Wisconsin.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
Let's go ahead and let's dive into what got you started with music initially.
Yeah. Well, funny story. I was always originally interested in music as a kid. Mm-hmm. I had a Walkman and just constantly listening to music. But my parents, I think I was in 8th grade. They basically forced me to pick an instrument to learn so that they would enroll me in lessons. And I was a kid. I was very resistant to new change, whatever.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, guitar or piano? Oh. Well, all right, guitar.
At least they gave you the option.
Yeah, they gave me an option.
My dad wouldn't let me play guitar unless I learned piano first.
Got to eat your meat before your dessert.
Yeah, I guess so.
But yeah, I picked guitar and had my first lesson. The teacher's name was Glenn Mueller. And
shout out Glenn.
Shout out Glenn. It's been a few years. But we went to my first lesson. I was super nervous, very resistant. But as soon as we got into it, it just something clicked, mm-hmm. and it just felt right. And I can't remember exactly what we learned. I think he was beginning to show me that we were going to learn Sweet Child of Mine, or something like that. I was like, that sounds sick.
Yeah. Okay. I dig that.
And then, after that, I told my parents. I was like, damn, I love this. Thank you.
Yeah. Shout out parents.
Yeah. Shout out parents.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
What was the first guitar you bought?
It was a knockoff Les Paul.
Okay.
It's a sunburst color.
Gotcha. Was it even an Epiphone or was it?
No, it was a way off brand.
Okay.
I can't even remember that. It was horse something.
Yeah, good enough.
Yeah.
Good enough. I dig that.
It did the trick. And
did your parents play instruments?
No. No one in my family is really very musical.
Okay, so you're really the first generation.
First gen musician. Yeah, exactly.
I dig that. And then how long had you been playing guitar before you got into more of the digitally based music?
So I started in 8th grade, mm-hmm. and then I didn't fully get into electronic music until late freshman year of college.
Okay.
Yeah.
Late
I was
bloomer.
playing guitar for a while, and then between that time, I was playing in a lot of like jazz bands and jazz combos in high school, which kind of kept feeling things a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're pretty competent with like music theory then.
I wouldn't say I know a lot of music theory, but like I know enough to help me write.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah.
Can you still like sight read well?
No.
Okay.
No.
Yeah,
I can't read notation at all anymore.
That's fair. That's fair. It's definitely one of those if you don't use it, you lose it kind of thing.
Exactly.
And then I guess who were those like first artists that like really got you into like wanting to make it?
Well, I remember like the moment that I decided I wanted to pursue a full-time music career was after my first music festival that I went to. So a lot of the people, it was called Somerset, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
It was a great time, obviously. Changed my life for the better. As far as influences at that time, I can't remember exactly. I was listening to a lot of house music at the time, which isn't really my thing now. Yeah. So it was a a lot of like Afrojack.
House is definitely like the gateway.
It definitely was, for sure. Yeah.
I'm sorry, you're saying Afrojack?
Oh yeah, like Afrojack, David Guetta, all that stuff at the time. But I've definitely like
a little bit of Tiesto in there.
A little bit of Tiesto in there. Yeah, exactly.
Hell yeah. Now, before we get into more what you do in the present day, I do have a couple foundation questions I like to check in with everybody on.
Yeah, for sure.
This first one is one we ask early. It's one we ask often, and it's definitely a crowd favorite. What was the first album you ever bought with your own money?
I have a pretty distinct memory of going to Circuit City.
Mm-hmm.
And
rest in peace, Circuit City.
Rest in peace, Circuit City. You were a good one. I bought Tool's 10,000 Days.
Okay.
I distinctly remember this also because I remember the album had like glasses that were attached to the cover that you could look through and look at the cover art.
Yeah.
Like 3D. It was sick.
Damn. Okay. Hell yeah. That definitely a quality first one.
Yes.
And then what was the first live show you ever went to? That was like specifically one you wanted to go to. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it was Dave Matthews Band at Alpine Valley.
Okay.
In high school, yeah.
Damn, I bet that was an interesting show.
It was interesting because I was still pretty young, and I just went with my other high school buddy.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I was like a diehard Dave fan in high school.
Yeah.
It was like all I listened to, basically. But yeah, it was my first concert, but it was a romp.
Yeah, I could imagine.
It was a romp.
Fans know how to get down.
Yeah, they do.
That is a party and a half for sure. Hell yeah. And then I know you already kind of touched on it, but do you have like, other than that main event that you went to, do you have like a specific moment where you decided you just wanted to like lock in on music?
I think it was that festival that I was mentioning. It was like an instant because I was in college at the time, and I was lost. I didn't know why I was in college. I was just like, I had a communications major, whatever that means. And yeah, after that moment, I was like, I think I want to drop out of college and pursue music full time.
Okay.
Full send.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then let's go ahead and let's get on into you in the present day.
Yeah.
We're going to get a super easy one out of the way.
Sure.
How'd you pick the name?
The name is primarily in reference to like the gain on a guitar amp. So it's just like high gain. And then I just like the word theory. Yeah. So, toss it on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, again, you are at least rooted somewhat in an understanding of music. So it's in there.
That is true as well. I never really thought about that.
And respect, I do this bit where I break down names and it's a solid one. It's got all easy words to remember. It's intriguing. Like when you hear it, it does make, because it's nearly a sentence. You could put punctuation on the end, and it would be one. Yes. But it's got good retention value. It's definitely got good SEO. You know what I mean?
Thank you.
Yes. Anything like that.
If you Google it, I will show up.
Exactly. And I mean, it even like it looks good on posters. You know what I mean? Like,
thank you.
It's a well put together name.
Yes. I also like it because as I get bigger, it's not one of those names where like like I imagine people call Skrillex a lot.
Yeah.
People are going to have to call me by my real name.
Yeah, they're going to have to learn what it is.
It doesn't roll off the tongue that well.
No, and it doesn't feel like a name, you know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
It doesn't feel like you couldn't be like, yeah, my name is just Hi.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I dig that.
Yes.
And then let's talk about your writing process a little bit. And we're going to break it up into chunks, but we're going to start right at the beginning.
Gotcha.
So when you get inspired, you're ready to make music.
Yeah.
What do you do to get a track started?
Well, that's something that I am very mindful of, is not going into a creative process the same way every time, because I think getting stuck in ruts like that ends up with producing a product that sounds similar. So I like to do different things. Sometimes I'll start by fiddling on the guitar, coming up with a chord progression, or other days I will start with drum beats and let that, garner inspiration. Or other days I will look for a sample. If I have a remix idea, I will start that. I am also a big fan of generative plugins and generative synths that, randomize things and just throw random ideas at you. Yeah, I love using stuff like that to generate a starting point.
Yeah, something where it's you would have never come up with this.
Yes.
But now that it's in front of you, what are you going to do with it?
Exactly. Because it can be easy to, I think, when there's a blank page, to get stuck.
Yeah. Or even just go back to the things you're like, I know this preset is the one that works. So why would, and then you get casted in that sound.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Hell yeah. And before we dig into a little more of it, I made electronic music for a while. I'm big on the production side of things. We're going to knock out a couple technical questions. First one, what DAW do you use?
I started in FL Studio, was in there from high school until
damn, so you were rocking version 4.
Yeah, I was rocking FL for a while, and then everybody through the years was like, you gotta switch to Ableton, I'm like, okay, I gotta switch to Ableton, whatever. And then I switched to Ableton and I'm like, oh shit, they were right.
Yeah.
That's sick.
Yo, this show is all done in audio by Ableton as well, so big fan.
Let's go Ableton.
And I started with Logic 8.
Oh,
and then moved to 9, and then when X came out, I didn't want to touch it.
Sure.
And then because it was so old, the computer I had crashed, and I had to install a new operating system. Had to go to something else because I didn't want to get 10
for sure.
So I moved over to Ableton 2 and never looked back.
Yep.
Well, glad you're a part of the winning team. No,
thank you.
I'm kidding. Anything works, you guys. While you're making music. And then what are some of your main hardware piece? Because I know I saw on your Instagram you do some out of the box stuff.
Yes.
What are give us your top 3 pieces of gear?
My top 3 pieces of gear would be my OP1, which, if you guys aren't familiar, is it's like a standalone groove box.
Yeah.
It's sick.
I'll just made a whole album with one.
Yep. And then it's a somewhat recent addition, my Push 2.
Okay, hell yeah.
It's just nice to have it fully integrated with Ableton.
Yeah.
It expands the creativity and makes it more tactile.
Have you seen the Move yet?
I have.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh man. Go ahead.
No. It looks sick. I just have too many groove boxes already.
Yeah.
So I'm just I can't.
I appreciate that it's properly standalone.
Yes.
But yeah, I don't think I'd have room for it now. But I'm glad they're moving that.
I'm glad. I like it. Yeah, exactly.
But getting back into you, what's the third thing?
The third thing would probably, it's also a semi-recent addition, would be my Ampero Stage 2.
Okay.
Is an amp modeler, which has basically gotten rid of my need for my pedal board entirely. I don't need a pedal board at all, which makes shows a breeze. It's just
especially for what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm sure it integrates well.
It's so nice.
Now, what made you go for that over, say, an Axe Effects or a Kemper, or even some of the more the respectfully, and I can't believe I'm going to say this out loud, but even the newer Line 6 boards are pretty crazy.
Some of them are
nowadays. Great. They've gotten there.
I think the reason was that I wanted a quad Cortex, but it's so expensive, and the Stage 2 is very similar to the quad Cortex at a fraction of the price.
Yeah.
Hell yeah,
I dig that.
Yeah, that's the main reason.
All right, well, that's enough technical jargon. I'm sure everybody... actually, one last question. what is your main guitar right now?
I have my two main guitars right now. I have two Schecters.
Okay.
One 6-string and one 7-string.
Gotcha. Hell yeah. All right, now getting back into it. Once you get to a point where a track is put together, because I know in the realm of electronic music, it's a little bit different. You're not just like writing a whole thing and then you start practicing it to perform it hardcore.
Yeah.
But like, at what point, I guess, do you feel like you're ready to like bring it out live?
I mean, a lot of tracks, like sometimes I'll make it the same day or the day before a show and I'll try it out. Like, in my opinion, it doesn't feel like there's like a lot of pressure for it to be like this perfect, pristine product before I like test it out.
Now, for the tracks that you're doing like the day before, will those have a lot of guitar elements in them?
Well,
or at least like ones where you're playing live.
Well, typically I leave space for me to play it live. So I'm not typically recording anything in guitar wise.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, so you'll just take the guitar and play over things that you make.
Yeah.
That you've like created realms for your guitar to live in.
Well, mostly, but I do record guitar in my tracks, but when I get it mastered, I have to get two separate masters.
Gotcha. Yeah, one for live and one for the recorded. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. But like you're playing like memorized stuff on stage as well as solos, or is it live? Is it a lot of like improvisation?
Partially memorized. Like I memorize like certain motifs.
Okay.
But it's largely improvisation.
Okay. Cool. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Okay.
Well, I largely get that from my jazz experience.
Yeah, you have the comfortability to be able to just be like, in the moment, I feel like everybody would like this.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that's actually, I dig that because we are in an interesting time right now, which we'll dig into a little more later, but where like a lot of real instruments are starting to make their way into electronic as part of the performance.
100%.
But before we get into that, I do want to talk about some of your music.
Yeah.
So I jumped on Spotify, went all the way back to 2019. Yeah, you've got a grip of music.
It goes back.
and what's cool is that respectfully, there's obviously growth and progression in it. But from the start, from 20, I imagine you were doing stuff before then.
Yeah.
But like from what's available, while there is like a semblance of progression, you were on to something. Like there was clearly you had a vision, you had a goal, you had understanding. And I couldn't get through all of it. I did my best.
It's a lot.
There was just
a fair amount.
Your sound is very textured. It's really cool. It's not super tropey, which I appreciate. There's this opportunity for new sounds to appear all the time in your music, which I really appreciate. And it's not just single after single. You've got some EPs, you've got some albums.
Thank you.
And I got stuck on your Bleeding Hues album.
Yes.
I almost forgot to check out the rest of your music because I went through the whole thing twice. Like the second Black came up, I was like, what is, I saw the album cover. I was like, this has got to be an album.
Yeah.
And all of them were there. And I mean, by the time I got to Red, I was hooked.
Yes. Thank you.
Can you tell us before I go into your current track?
Yeah.
How did that project come to be?
So that project came about very soon after I had moved to Portland for the first time. I was just feeling a lot, just going through a lot of stuff, and I just, as music has always been an output for me, I really wanted to put that into like a full-fledged project. And I just had this idea and I'm sure it's been done before, but this idea of writing a song based on how I perceive a certain color to feel. And so, I think I wrote like 12 or 13 tracks on it or something like that.
Yeah.
And to this day, it's definitely like something I'm still very, very proud of.
It's really cool. If for some reason y'all haven't heard it yet, when you're done with this, go check it out. I like that it's progressive. It's cool because it doesn't feel like it's just one track is this and then randomly one. Yeah. There's almost like a way that it like each song flows in and through. I did
kind of write it that way as well, just kind of as like you should listen to this from beginning to end,
And there's an energy in each track that like it was cool because it showed a lot of variety in your ability to play without it being just anything.
Just
what I mean? Yeah, it's
still cohesive.
Yeah, exactly. There we go. That was the word I was looking for. It's really well put together. Big fan.
Thank you.
But now let's talk about your most recent track, Frequency.
Yes.
Which just came out last month now. Yeah,
a month. It's been about a month.
By the time it comes out, it'll be a little after a month.
Yeah.
Right from the get. I mean, it's just nasty.
Thank you.
The bass is so tight. It's so clean. That top sound.
Thank you.
Cuts. And then the little percussion sounds.
The like ching sounds.
It's cool because I mean the track, the genre itself tends to be somewhat percussive. It's a lot of stabs,
very rhythmic.
But it added this additional rhythmic element and kind of created this looseness because the rest of it is very, very locked, very tight, very grit. But that just kind of gave it this
like a swing almost.
Yeah, it almost like, I don't know if you're familiar with the Akira soundtrack.
No, I'm not.
But go check out that movie. Weird random plug here. But the soundtrack in it in particular has a lot of those like elements of like loose over tight.
Got you.
But honestly, for not being a crazy track, it's not like a big explosive.
No.
It's still a banger.
It's like more groovy.
Yeah.
I actually played it out for the first time last night.
Oh, cool.
At a show, and it went really well.
I could believe it.
It was received well.
And I appreciate that it had a solid second half.
Yes.
Because it's definitely one of those songs where you could have phoned in this. Like I could have
copied and pasted,
and nobody would have been bothered. It's not the kind of track that expected it.
Yes.
So to actually have like a proper second half and a change up in it, that
is something I try to do, is to not just copy and paste first and second drop. I'm not saying I haven't done it in the past, but it's something I try to.
No, I mean, some tracks just they're almost more for the live element. You're going to be bringing it in, so having that realm there.
Yes,
but no, and you didn't. From everything else I heard of yours, you definitely didn't strike me as the type to copy and paste it.
Thank you.
But I always love when people actually take the time to always put in a good second.
Definitely. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah. But I've talked forever now. I am curious to know, what are some of your favorite tracks of yours to perform?
Let me think about that. Well, off my Jigsaw EP, I definitely like to play out Scruff and Move. And then...
Move is a banger.
Move's a good one. Move is a good one. I think that one has the most plays on Spotify at the moment. I also have a couple tracks with the Cars on Mars. Shout out Cars on Mars.
Yeah.
I like to improvise over our tracks Flutterwave and Take Me. I also have lots of unreleased stuff that I like to do, like more like metal riffs on live.
Okay.
I don't have a lot of that released yet.
Yeah.
So they're kind of like secret live.
So you have to be there.
You have to be there, yeah. Okay. But yeah.
Hell yeah. No, I dig that. And then I guess before we get into more of the broad stroke questions, just because you perform a lot. You've done a lot of things. You have a grip of shows. You've been all over the place in the country. Have you been outside the country at all for music?
No, not yet. Not yet.
What are just some highlight moments? What are some like cool things that you can call back on?
Still Dream 2022, which is a festival in California. That was probably one of the more pivotal / validating shows I had ever played. They gave me a 3 a.m. slot, which, sometimes can be a little sparse.
Yeah.
But it hit 3 and it was packed.
Hell yeah. Yeah, in the realm of proper festivals, that could definitely be a useful spot.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So there's that, and then a couple times that I played at the North Warehouse in Portland were extremely pivotal. One time at the Warehouse was probably the biggest show I'd played, maybe like 1,000 people.
Okay.
Hard to say.
Yeah.
And then honestly, the show I played last night was one of the better ones I played.
Hell yeah.
It was pretty packed house.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
Yeah, packed house. And it's nice when you're at a show and the energy is very like palpable and like you basically have the audience kind of in the palm of your hand.
Yeah.
You can take them wherever you want to take them.
Yeah.
So that's, yeah.
And where were you at in the set for the one last night? Or I guess in the
that was the other thing. They gave me a great set time. So they had me play from 11:15 to 12:40.
Oh, okay.
And the headliner after me at 12:45 won. So it was just it was packed. Yeah.
Yeah, everybody had already walked in by then, but they weren't like, they hadn't raged too hard by then.
Exactly.
And you were the one, the spot before the headlining spot is usually kind of the prime spot.
It's the prime slot.
Yeah.
I mean, especially like from, I don't know, 11:15 to 12:40 is like the middle of the sandwich.
Because that's even like, that's early enough that the late people are starting to show up.
Yes, exactly.
But it's late enough that the people who got there like a little earlier have like settled in.
Exactly. And they're kind of vibing, you know, exactly.
Yeah. So they've already kind of developed the energy of the room even.
Because at the beginning of a show, people are like kind of feeling awkward still. They haven't had a couple drinks yet. So they're feeling loose, you know.
Yeah. Some of them have only woken up a couple hours before.
All right,
gotta have my wake up Red Bull. Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. Especially for that, like the lifestyle of the like 6 at night to 3 in the morning people.
Yeah, exactly.
And then I want to take a moment now. I don't want to zoom out. I want to kind of look at music as a whole.
Sure.
What are some of the things about either new music in general, if you're one of those, or at the very least music that's new to you that you found recently that you enjoy or you're finding inspiration in at the moment?
I mean, I'm a big fan of jam bands. My favorite band is Humphreys McGee.
Okay.
So, I mean, they're a huge inspiration. I honestly don't listen to a lot of electronic music, like in my day-to-day life. So I'm just listening to a lot of like other stuff, like hip hop, and I like bluegrass a lot, being from Wisconsin. Yeah, just like I garner a lot of inspiration from just kind of anything.
Hell yeah. No, I dig that.
Just keep it interesting.
Yeah. And now before we get into the next portion, the next question is probably the densest question in the interview.
Sure.
But we talked a lot about your experiences with music, the actions, the reactions. But when it's just you and music, one-on-one, what does music give back to you?
Music gives me an outlet to put my feelings onto paper. And that way it's just out. And yeah, it provides me, I mean, in all of the hardships I've had in my life, music has always been a reliable source of peace and solace for me. And so that's primarily what it gives back to me.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's powerful. Well, thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right, now we're going to go ahead and we're going to move on to some hypothetical questions. And for these, sky's the limits. The questions are all made up, so the answers are allowed to be as well.
Let's do it.
But this first one's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
If you could work with any one person, the only requirement is they have to be alive.
You have to be alive.
Who would you want to work with, and how would you want to work with them?
Oh my gosh. One person. It would probably be Jake Siniger from Humphreys McGee.
Okay.
I would just love to play guitar with him and pick his brain.
Yeah.
Ultimately, like his ability to improvise is a level that I aspire to be.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I dig that. And now subsequently, who's a local artist that you're aware of that you haven't gotten to connect with yet, but you would like to?
Interesting. I would probably say East Coast. He is a fellow music producer as well. He makes bass music, but he is in a similar vein as me in terms of like, he has a very distinct style. Very clearly he developed over years, and he's not trend chasing. Yeah. You know, it's a very, you know his music when you hear it.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Well, everybody, you know what to do. Add him in the comments. Let's see if we can make that happen. And then for this next one, like I said before, sky's the limits, and it's pretty literal in this sense.
Yeah.
But if you could perform anywhere in the world, you wouldn't have to worry about crowd access or building stability or power. It was guaranteed the best lineup, guaranteed the best show. Whoa. It doesn't have to be a venue. It could be anywhere.
Whoa.
Where would you want to perform?
Whoa. Where would I want to perform? I feel like performing on like a structure in the middle of a body of water would be sick. Maybe
like an abandoned oil rig,
something like that. Yeah, something like that. Or weirdly like Antarctica or something.
I was going to say the other thought.
Yeah,
that would be cool.
Just something crazy. I don't know.
You know, there is a venue in Antarctica.
No way.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, 100%.
Oh shit.
Yeah. And it's for like the researchers there.
Really?
Yeah, it's like there's like this one like venue and bar.
Yeah, it's like the one thing they have.
Like a bunch of like alcohol brands even like send cases there, and you can like drink for free if you get to it.
That's so funny.
It's just what I've heard.
I'm not going.
But yeah, I mean, hey, it could be a cool spot. It'd be an interesting turnout for sure.
For sure.
All right. And then to wrap up the hypothetical questions, if you could get one more album from anybody, they could be alive, they could be dead, they could have not put out an album in 100 years.
Yeah.
They could have put out an album yesterday. Who would you want an album from?
That's tough. I'm inclined to say Mac Miller.
Hell yeah.
I feel like he was like right on the come up of like making some like really groundbreaking stuff. So yeah,
he's one of those artists that I always wonder like what would right now music.
I know.
You know what I mean?
He was just developing so much. You know? His music had changed so much over the years. So I was just curious to see where it was going, like you said. And
I feel like it was really becoming influential.
Yeah.
Which usually a lot of like some artists, they don't become influential until after their time.
100%.
Or like even like they don't embrace it in the time and then way later after they fizzled out. But like his music was making movement at the time it existed.
Yes, 100%.
Oh yeah. All right, but with that being said, we're going to go ahead and start wrapping this up. What can we look forward to between, let's say, now and April?
Between now and April, I have a show coming up on November 1st. That's going to be, I actually forget the location, but it's for a fundraiser for like the Haha PDX crew. And then let me think. I don't have any shows after that, but I have just a grip of new music that I'm working on.
Oh yeah.
Just going to be trickling out over the next few months.
Gotcha. Well, definitely looking forward to that.
Yes.
And for this next one, go ahead and look straight at your camera. Tell everybody how they can find you.
You can find me on pretty much anything: Spotify, SoundCloud, iTunes, Instagram. All that stuff. You can Google me. I will pop up. I promise.
Hell yeah. And then any other plugs, any other shout outs, anybody else you'd like to put on while you're on here?
Shout out to my parents again. Low-key, shout out to my day job right now because my boss is super cool and he provides me like the time off that I need.
Hell yeah.
Like, make music happen. So
it can make or break a lot of situations. So that is a good low-key shout out.
That is the tough part about being a creative and having a day job is balancing that. So
believe me.
It's tough.
All right, but with that being said, I've got one last question to go. But before we do, I'm gonna steal the camera for just a second. As always, y'all, please make sure to like, subscribe, push all the buttons, do all the things. You know, I don't know where they are, but you do, and I trust you. And one more shout out to the Brothers Apothecary, Ronald Records, and Portland Water. Thanks for keeping us hydrated. And with that being said, the final question. And this is entirely up to your interpretation.
Sure.
But in all of music, what is an album you feel is more on the obscure side? It's a deep cut. It's one not a lot of people would know, but it's one you think everybody should know.
An obscure deep cut album. I don't know how deep of a cut it is. But this band, The Deer Hunter. Well, so that is partially where I got the inspiration for the Bleeding Hues album. Was they had, it was a long time ago. I think it was like 2012 or something. They had put out something called The Color Spectrum, which is like a similar idea. But you know, they're a band, obviously, so it's very different. But I highly recommend checking that album out. It's beautiful.
Oh yeah, that's a super solid track.
Yeah.
All right, but with that being said, we're going to go ahead and get up on out of here. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Yeah. And this has been another exciting episode of Jimmy's Jambox. I'm Jimmy.
I'm Josh, High Gain Theory.
And we're signing off. Later, y'all.
Peace.
That's a wrap. This is not a podcast. This is a show.
Keep jamming.